Welcome friends, in this video let's discuss about conservation of biological diversity and different modes of conservation of biological diversity, that is in situ conservation and ex situ conservation, and organizations which are important in the conservation of biological diversity in India, that is Botanical Survey of India and Zoological Survey of India. First, conservation of biological diversity. The word conservation means the act of preserving, guarding or protecting. Here the conservation of biological diversity means the act of preserving or guarding and protecting the biodiversity for the future use of human beings, mankind as a whole. Okay, there are two important modes of conservation of biological diversity. These are ex situ conservation and in situ conservation. Here in the ex situ conservation, the biodiversity is conserved outside their natural habitat, okay, and various examples for ex situ conservation includes zoological garden, botanical garden, seed bank and germplasm bank. Here in the botanical garden, this is an example for ex situ conservation. Here various species of plants like trees, shrubs, herbs, climbers and various species of plants are planted in a specified area for the conservation purposes and also for educational purposes. This is the botanical garden. So here it is planted outside the natural habitat, outside the forest, in a different setting. So this is ex situ conservation. And similarly in the animals also we do ex situ conservation in the form of zoological garden. Here different species of animals are held captively for the public purposes and also for entertainment purposes and also for the conservation of these animal species in a different setting outside their natural habitat. This is the example of zoological garden. And then seed bank. Here the seeds of various plants species are collected and stored safely in a repository for the future use, either for breeding program or for reproduction and also for multiplication of those plant species. So this is the seed bank. And germplasm bank. Here various plants can be propagated vegetatively, for example by use of cuttings, layering and other means, and also the propagules are also stored in the germplasm banks with the use of cryogenic techniques. And also in the animal species, whereas sperms and other ovules are also stored for the future use and other breeding program of the animals. So this is the germplasm conservation, that is ex situ conservation. So as I mentioned earlier, botanical garden is one of the ex situ conservation and zoological garden is also one of the ex situ conservation. And next is in situ conservation. Here the conservation is made within the natural habitat of the plants and animal species. So the conservation is made in their natural habitat itself is the in situ conservation. We can divide the in situ conservation into two different components. One is conservation areas and protected areas. In the conservation areas, these are the areas of notable environmental or historical interest. Okay, these are the areas with notable environmental interest because of their biodiversity or because of their use for the human beings or other purposes, or importance which is protected by law against the undesirable changes. These areas are protected by the law against the undesirable changes like interference by the human beings and other encroachment offenses. So the conservation areas are tiger reserves, elephant reserves, Ramsar wetland areas for the conservation of wetlands, and natural UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Okay, natural UNESCO World Heritage Sites. There are different World Heritage Sites in India also. And marine biodiversity areas. These are the counterparts of the national parks. Okay, and coastal biodiversity areas. So these are the conservation areas. And the protected areas, these have more stricter norms when compared to the conservation areas. These are the areas those in which human occupation are limited. Okay, at least exploitation of resources is also limited in these protected areas. These include various categories, for example national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, community reserves, conservation reserves and marine protected areas. These are regulated by legislation by the parliament. So these are the protected areas. At present we have the 4.88% of the Indian geographical area is covered by the protected areas. Okay, And among these national parks, there are 103 national parks, and which accounts for 1.23% of the India's area. And wildlife sanctuary, there are 530 wildlife sanctuaries spreading across all the states, and this is 3.58 percent of the Indian area. And conservation reserves accounts for 0.07%, and community reserves are only 4, and there are 702 protected areas in India totally. Let's look at the Botanical Survey of India. This Botanical Survey of India is the apex organization under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, and it performs various functions in the conservation of biological diversity in the area of plant species. Okay, and these functions include: it carry out taxonomic means classification of the plants on a scientific basis. Okay, taxonomic and floristic studies on wild plant resources through surveying the forest areas, documentation of the different plant species, and conservation of these species. Okay, this is the important function of the Botanical Survey of India. And this also maintains the inventory. It also maintains the list of rare, endemic, and threatened plant species, and it also evolves the conservation strategies for conserving these endangered and threatened plant species that are present in India. And it also studies the fragile ecosystems and protected areas like wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, and biosphere reserves, and also prepares the conservation strategies for the same. And multiplication and maintenance of endemic and threatened species, okay, through various propagation techniques like micropropagation, vegetative propagation, sexual propagation. For example, maintaining botanical gardens in various corners of the country, and orchidaria. This is another important things. And documentation of traditional knowledge of plants. Okay, various plants are used for healing different diseases. So these are documented by the Botanical Survey of India. And development of plant and development of national database of herbarium. Herbarium is the collection of the plants in a dried sample. Okay, so these are the functions of the Botanical Survey of India. And the activities undertaken by the Botanical Survey of India so far includes: it has discovered one new family, the whole family, and 32 new genera, and 925 new species, subspecies, and varieties that have been discovered as new to science. These are new to science. These have not been known before. So this is the achievement of Botanical Survey of India. They have found one new species to the science, 32 new genera, 925 new species. And also it undertake environment impact assessment studies on impact of over 100 development projects like dams, various industrial projects, mining activities, on flora. Okay, this is completed by the Botanical Survey of India. Next is Zoological Survey of India. It is also one of the premier institute under the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and this is counterpart of the Botanical Survey of India. And it undertakes the survey documentation, taxonomic studies of the animal species. It was established in 1916 itself, before independence. Okay, it also undertakes environment impact assessment related to the fauna. Okay, and survey of conservation areas are also made, and status survey of endangered species are also carried out by the Zoological Survey of India. And environment information system on the diversity of the animal species are also undertaken to provide proper information for policy formulation and conservation strategies to various organizations. And it is supporting the enforcement of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So these are the important functions of the Zoological Survey of India. Next, let's look at the achievements. The scientists of Zoological Survey of India discovered 4,806 new animal species. Okay, more than 3,000 as new records. So these have not been listed in any of the documents. These are new to science. So this is the achievement of Zoological Survey of India. They have also published huge collection of books related to the animal conservation of fauna. That is up to 1,448 books are published by the Zoological Survey of India. So this is it about the conservation, biological conservation, in situ and ex situ conservation. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Please friends, this is important. Please subscribe through your email, and link is provided in the description box below, so that we can make a group and share our resources with each other for for better studies. So thanks for watching. Link is in the description below. Please sign in with your email address there. Thank you very much.